Did you start your business for freedom and fun, but now you're just stressed, overwhelmed, or struggling to step back? That was me too, and I burned out completely in my first business. But now I run a profitable business and I actually enjoy my life. And in this video, I'm sharing 30 hard-earned lessons that help me go from being stuck and stressed to being a happy business owner. Lesson number one is have a clear plan on how your business is going to work for you. Now, for me in my first business, when I started it, my only plan was,
wouldn't it be nice if this thing could pay the bills?
and that's what I ended up with, a business that could just about pay the bills. It's really important that you as an owner think about, what does this need to do to make me happy? And typically what works well is thinking about the 4 F's: fun, freedom, finance, and fulfillment. Now, an important thing to understand here is that your plan will probably change as you and the business develop, which leads me on neatly to lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 is be aware of the stages that you and your business go through. So when I started my first business, again, I was really happy to work crazy hours and not get paid a lot of money, yet I still felt fulfilled. The reason for this is I was in the startup phase, finding freedom and fulfillment by not being in employment. But after this, you move into the success phase where you find clients, build a team, and start to get paid, which gives you fulfillment, fun, and finances. But then anywhere from 3 years onwards, you start to crave freedom from your own business, but you've made it dependent on you. So you either stay stuck where you are or you move into the systems phase, which finally enables you to move into the scale or sale phase where you get to make great money without having to work loads. So it's really important that you accept that you're going to go through different stages as you and your business grow. And that instead of just getting depressed and fed up as you hit those different stages, you just recognize, I'm at a new stage. I'm going to zoom out and replan what I need to do for success. Lesson number 3 then is to protect your freedom. Most business owners are highly driven by freedom. That's why we start businesses, because we don't want to be stuck in the rat race, stuck in jobs. We want to be able to create our own lives. But the problem we make as business owners is we make our businesses highly dependent on us. We get used to that, and then we use that as an excuse to never go on a holiday, never have any time to ourselves, and we start to feel drained and burnt out by our businesses. So you've got to plan for time off, and you should be taking a time away from your business at least once a quarter. Otherwise, you'll start to feel drained and demotivated by it. Lesson number 4 then is don't fall into the trap of pricing based on the market, price based on the value that you provide. So what I've seen and what I experienced personally is that most small and medium business owners start businesses partly because they can see that things could be done better. But then they go and try and charge what everybody else is charging. And what that does is it leaves us stuck where we're trying to provide a high level of service or product, but we're pricing it a way that isn't sustainable for that level of service. And then we end up doing one or two things. We either end up lowering our service to be able to stick to that price point, and then we just feel unfulfilled because it's not what we want it to be, or we carry on trying to do this and we make up for the pricing by us just working hard. So if you want to create a win-win situation, you've got to price based on your value and find the clients that are willing to pay the money because they want a better level of service or product. It's going to help you have freedom. It's going to help your staff get paid properly. It's going to help you build a business that you actually enjoy. Lesson number 5 is think about your business as an investment from day one. If you put money into your bank, you expect a certain return on that money because it's in the bank. It's relatively safe, so it's a relatively low return. If you put that money into something more risky, you expect a higher return because of the risk that you're taking. Now, if you put your money and your time and your effort into business, which is what you're doing, you invest it into business, it's a very high risk. It's a very low success rate of businesses. So we're taking a big risk with our time and our money by putting it into business. And it's exactly right that you should expect a decent return for that. So instead of thinking about your business as this emotional thing that you're involved in every single day, just think, I'm putting my time and money into this. I expect, and I am right to expect, a return for that. Lesson number 6 then is don't put your life on hold until you've hit some magical goal. So I remember making the mistake of telling myself, right, I'll spend more time with my partner and go on more holidays once we've got this many members, once we're hitting this much revenue. It's never ending, right? You've got to be really careful that you don't fall into that trap. So your life is now, and your business is going to take a long time. Like, business is a long-term thing. So make sure that you're enjoying your life whilst you're growing the business. Lesson number 7, don't fall for the work hard to get ahead hype. Now, you and I know that if you want to grow a business, you do have to work hard. But if you buy into all of this messaging that's like hustle, work harder than everybody else to get ahead, you're going to put yourself at a high risk of burnout, and it doesn't really work. I worked super hard in my first business and I didn't get ahead. I just got more burnt out because I wasn't working on the right things. So let's be careful that we're not just telling ourselves this lie that we have to work harder all the time to get ahead. Let's focus on working on the right stuff, not just working harder for the sake of working harder. And following on from that lesson number 8 is don't fall for the well-being hype. Like, if your business is a mess and you're really stressed, going and having a sauna and getting up at 5 a.m. every day and doing ice baths isn't going to make any difference, right? You've got to focus on sorting your business out and addressing the psychological issues that are stopping you from doing that. So yes, look after your health, but don't tell yourself that getting up at 4 a.m. and having ice baths is going to fix all your problems. It's not. Let's focus on the business. Lesson number 9 then is you've got to know the numbers of your business inside and out. And I avoided this for so long with my first business because I thought, I don't know the numbers. I know they're probably not where they need to be. I'm just going to avoid them and just work hard and be passionate, and then that'll kind of fix themselves. If you don't know your numbers, you can't stay on track. You can't put your energy into the things that actually matter, and you really put yourself at a high risk of being a busy fool. So you've got to zoom out from your business and get clear on the top kind of 10 numbers that tell you how healthy your business is, black and white, without having to rely on your emotion and your intuition. Lesson number 10 then is don't obsess about making your product or service perfect. Now, this actually comes from a lack of confidence and a lack of self-worth. And I know this again from my first business. If we don't think that we're good enough and we feel like we're not worthy of being successful, that will come across as perfection. We'll tell ourselves that everything has to be perfect so that we don't get any criticism or negative feedback from people. But you've just got to accept that for a business to scale and for a business to be good and for a business to give you a good lifestyle, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good. And 80% of what you think is good enough is probably more than good enough. Lesson number 11 might be the most important lesson on the list. So I remember in my first business being hyper stressed every time something went wrong. We'd have 99 positive reviews about how much we've changed people's lives, and we'd have one person come in and complain, and that would instantly get all of my attention, and I'd feel like crap about myself. As a business owner, you have to create a positive relationship with problems, because the very nature of business is problems replace problems. And if you solved every problem you have on your list right now, they'll just get replaced with new ones. So you've got to accept them, make peace with them, not stress about them. Otherwise, you'll always be miserable. Lesson number 12 is face your psychological barriers instead of hiding from them. So I remember getting mentoring with my first business and my second one, and learning things from very experienced business people, and then coming back to them a few weeks or months later and they're saying, have you done this thing? And I hadn't done this thing. And the reason I hadn't done this thing is because I had a psychological barrier, a confidence thing. But because I was ashamed of that, embarrassed by it, I would hide it behind excuses. And what that means is that these psychological issues that we all have don't have to get addressed. They just hide away. So if you know what you need to do, but you're not doing it, you need to be open and honest about the psychological barriers that are holding you back so that you can overcome them. But if you just try and hide them away and make excuses about them, they'll stay there forever, and it'll be your own mind that's holding you back, and you'll just waste loads of money and time on paying for programs and courses when actually the issue is you need to just get over your own issues. Okay, lesson number 13. Don't get stuck in the safety trap. This is what I call the zone of being comfortably uncomfortable. And I spent years here and it made me miserable. What commonly happens in business is you get to a point where the business isn't what it needs to be, but it's getting by. It's not making you happy, but it's also not an emergency. And what happens is you know things need to be better for you to be happy in the business, but because it's not bad enough that you actually need to make any change, you just stay where you are. And you justify staying where you are because it feels safe and it feels comfortable. You've got to be really careful about getting stuck in this zone as a business owner, because you can stay there for years and years and years and it will just make you miserable and unfulfilled. So you've got to get clear on what you want and make sure that you don't get stuck in that zone where things are comfortable, but they're not what they need to be. Lesson 14 then is get help and learn from other people, but also trust your instincts. So this is something that I realized when I was having some mentorship, and the mentor that I was using at the time was telling me to do this thing. And I was like, I don't want to do that thing. And it wasn't a confidence thing. It wasn't like I was just not believing in myself. I just didn't want to do the thing. It wasn't aligned to who I was as a person, didn't align to my values, didn't feel right for my business. And what I realized from that and from listening to lots of other business owners and business leaders is just because something works for one person doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. So although it's important that you learn from people and you learn from books and you learn from experts, you've also got to be aware of what's your values, what's your vision, what's your intuition telling you. And you've got to listen to that as much, if not more, than the stuff other people tell you. If you don't tune into that, you're just going to be constantly pulled in 1,000 different directions. So yes, learn, but trust your instincts. Lesson number 15 then, which might sound a bit cliche, but it's so important, is we've got to get comfortable with failure as business owners. And this is something that we're not hardwired to do or conditioned to do by societies. I really struggled with this with my first business. Everything I tried, if it wasn't an instant success, I was like, oh, I felt terrible. I internalized it. I felt like I was a failure. But the reality is that most stuff does fail in business. And if you're not willing to go through those failures, you're never going to get to the things that win. With business, we're really playing the game of taking 10 shots, missing 9 to hit 1 that really can scale. If you go back and look through my YouTube channel, if you're watching this, you're going to see at the time of filming this that most of my videos have probably got less than 50 views. And I could look at that and see that as,
right, I'm a failure. What's the point in doing this?
or I can just lean into it and be like, this is what I want to do. I want to reach more people and help more people through YouTube. And I'm willing to just keep doing stuff that doesn't land until I find the one that does. Lesson number 16 is give your employees outcomes, not tasks, and treat them as partners. Part of the business journey for 99% of business owners that want to make their businesses work without them is going to be growing a team. And the reality is that due to our own insecurities and psychological issues, we're probably going to be bad managers. We're going to try and micromanage because we want everything to be perfect. And the way that you can overcome this is get away from managing tasks and get really clear when you start taking people on. What are the outcomes that I want from this person? That's going to make you a really good leader and manager. Whereas if you don't do that and you just start managing their tasks and getting highly involved in their daily tasks, they're going to be stressed. You're going to be stressed, and it's going to create a lose-lose situation. Lesson number 17, plan to make a lot of money and get comfortable with that. Now, the reality is a lot of humans aren't very highly motivated by money, and a lot of business owners aren't super motivated by money. And that's a problem because in business, you have to make a lot of money, a lot more money than what you think you need to. There's so many things that you're going to have to spend money on to just make your business healthy. So you need to get comfortable as an owner with planning to make a lot of money and not feeling guilty about that. If you've got money issues, you need to overcome them because a business that isn't making money is going to be a stress for you. So you want to make your business cash flow rich and profit rich. If you don't do this, you're going to feel stressed. Lesson number 17 then is you absolutely have to work on your mindset as a business owner. It's not working hard that burns people out. There's plenty of people that work crazy hours and never get burnt out. The thing that burns you out is working hard all the time because you're constantly stressed and never being able to switch off. So if those are things that you resonate with, I'm working a lot because I'm stressed and I'm stressed a lot, you need to be willing to look inwards and work on your mindset. Otherwise, you'll never be happy as a business owner. Being a business owner is a high stress environment, and we're not going to fix the high stress environment. We need to work how we handle the high stress environment. That's the choice we're making. So we're either going to work on the mindset and thrive in that environment, or we're going to ignore the mindset and be constantly stressed, which is going to shorten our lifespan and not make us very happy. So lesson 19 is a bit of a reiteration of lesson 18, and that is you've got to address your psychological barriers as much as your knowledge gap barriers. So I think business owners fall into the trap like I did of thinking my business isn't where I need it to be. I'm lacking a bit of knowledge. I need to go and learn that from a person. Whereas a lot of the time, the actual reality was I knew I needed to put my prices up and I needed to address the issues that I had up here that were stopping me from doing that, as opposed to constantly looking for somebody else to give me a solution. So if you know that you've got barriers in your mind that are holding you back from doing the thing you need to do, you've got to accept them, lean into them and work on them, as opposed to ignoring them and thinking that if you just go and spend some money or read another book, the problem's going to solve itself. Lesson number 20 then is market yourself aggressively and build a reliable client acquisition system. One of the things that leaves business owners feeling trapped in their business is not having a reliable source of new clients knocking at the door. And the reason this happens is because our natural human psychology tells us to be humble and to just be good at what we do, and then people will come. It doesn't work like that in business, right? I made this mistake in my first business. I thought the more I fine-tuned my service and made it better, the more clients would come falling through our doors. And although having a great service and product does lead to referrals, that's not how you can really grow a sustainable business. In most industries, you need to build a client acquisition system, and you need to get good at shouting about how good your thing is from the rooftops. If you have an incredible service or product and you're not marketing it, and somebody else in your industry has a crap service or product and they're really good at marketing it, they're going to wipe the floor with you and you're going to be pissed off. So get really good at telling people why they should come to you. You have to do it. You can't be humble in business. It'll bite you on the arse. Lesson number 21, work in quarters. Us business owners are very vision driven, very future focused and overly optimistic. So what we tend to do is get some ideas and then try and run into action. And what happens is we get overwhelmed. We don't get the progress that we want early on. We realize that things aren't happening as quick as we wanted them to. And then we just reactively change stuff. You've got to stop that because it's just a pathway to poor progress and a lack of success. So the way that you do this is you look at your goals, you spend some time, you be disciplined, and then you break your business goals down into 12-week blocks, because that stops them being overwhelming and it helps you focus on what's going to move the needle over this next 12 weeks. So you've got to work in 12-week blocks. If you don't do that, you're just going to be constantly bouncing between ideas erratically and never really making the progress that you should be making. Lesson number 22 is, remember, you're a human first, a business owner second. I think us business owners make the mistake of pulling our whole identity into into our business, it's just a small part of your life, right? So don't forget that you've got a life outside of your business. Your business doesn't have to consume you. Remember to have a life. Remember to do things outside of your business, and remember that your identity is not your business. Lesson number 23, which reiterates lesson number 21, planning and quarters, is don't rely on passion without planning. I know so many business owners that make this mistake. So did I in my first business, where you just think,
this thing is so good that it will just work if I work on it really hard.
That's very, very unlikely to happen. Okay, just because you're passionate about the thing doesn't mean it's going to work. There might be a few extreme cases of this, but the reality is that to make your business work, you have to filter that passion down into a clear roadmap of action. So if you're passionate, that's great, but make sure that you've got a planning cycle in place to make sure that you can actually take your passion and turn it into action. Okay, lesson number 24 is find hobbies that demand your full attention so you can truly switch off. From my personal experience and a lot of the owners that I work with, I know a lot of us are ADHD, we're scatty, we're erratic, we're hyper-focused a lot of the time. Now, the downside of that means that we find it difficult to genuinely switch off from our businesses. Even when we're at family dues or whatever it might be, we're still thinking about them. And I found the best way to fix this is to do things that require your full attention. So for me, it's snowboarding and things like CrossFit, but find activities that actually engage that active brain of yours. Don't just spend loads of time sat around doing nothing when you're not at work, because all you'll do is think about it. So think about the activities that are actually going to require your brain power, and that will help you switch off from this constant focus on business. Lesson number 25 is don't let being nice get in the way of running a healthy business. So it's, again, a natural human trait to want to avoid conflict and to make people happy. Okay, that's what's helped us stay alive as a species for a long time. But that can lead to a lot of issues in your business, right? For your business to be what it needs to be, it probably needs to change. You probably need to do new things. You probably need to get your team to do new things. You probably need to get rid of some clients and put the prices up for other clients. It's just the nature of business. And if you're just trying to be nice and avoid any conflict, you won't be able to make any of that happen. Every time you get a little bit of resistance, you'll just change what you're trying to do in order to keep people happy. So don't let your tendency to be nice and to want to please people and to avoid conflict get in the way of what actually has to happen. You've got to be really kind of black and white around, this is what the business needs to be to win for everybody long term. These are the changes. You either get on board, or if you're not happy with that, find your own way. Lesson number 26 is pay yourself well. And I understand that at the start of businesses, often we can justify not doing this because we want to keep the cash in the business, etc. But if you do this for a long period of time, you're creating a false economy, because if you're there running the business and making stuff happen, you need to be paid for that. Otherwise, the business is running on free labor. And if you're just paying yourself out of dividends, again, we're not actually getting a clear picture on what it takes for this business to run. You might be doing the job of 3 people. That's not reflected in the accounts. Then we've got a business that can't scale and that can't sell. So if you get into the habit of paying yourself now and paying yourself well, it gets a lot easier for you to replace yourself. Because if you think about it, if we want to sell the business or hire somebody to do some of the work we're doing, we've already accounted for that money. Whereas if we're not paying ourselves, the business is just creating a false economy where you feel trapped and it can't scale. Lesson number 27, outsource the jobs you hate as soon as possible. So for me, I got really drained with my first business because I was trying to do bookkeeping. Why? I don't know. All I do know is because I was justifying saying I haven't got the money to pay for that. Now, what happened was it just drained me, which had a negative impact on the business. And as soon as I started paying somebody to do that, I had all this free time and this energy again, because I wasn't being drained by tasks that I hate. So remember, your business has got to work for you. So make sure that part of that business isn't you having to do tasks you absolutely hate. So find the tasks that you really dislike, outsource them as fast as possible. This is an investment, not a cost. It's going to free you up, but it's also going to keep you high energy. Lesson number 28, when you're hiring, think about it as a 3-month investment as opposed to a 12-month cost. So a lot of the clients that we work with have got things that they know they need to hire for, but they go straight into thinking about, wow, that's going to cost me £25,000 or £50,000 or whatever it might be to fix that problem. And the reality is that's not true, because you don't hire somebody and then agree to keeping them for 12 months, right? You hire somebody to solve a problem that's worth money to your business. And it's going to be much easier for you to think about, okay, how much do I need to pay them for the first 3 months? Because that can be their probation period. And what results do I need to see in the first 3 months for me to know that this person's the right person? And if you think about it that way, it feels way less intimidating to take people on board. And it also helps you communicate to people much better what's expected of them when they come on board. Lesson number 29 then is build your business for your dream clients, not for everybody. So It's a natural part of business that you're going to attract all sorts of people. And as your business goes on, you're going to figure out who you love working with and who you don't love working with. There's going to be people that are more than happy to pay the prices that you want to charge, and they love working with you and they sing your praises from the moment they work with you. These are your ideal clients. You want to build your business around them. You've got to be careful that you don't fall into the trap of just trying to make your business work for everybody, because all you'll do is limit its ability to provide an exceptional service for the people that are going to be easy to work with. You'll end up pissed off, and so will your ideal clients. So be willing to kind of cut the fat. So be willing to look at who do we work with, who's great to work with, who do we not want to work with as much, how can we develop the business to attract more of those people and deliver the service that they want. If you do this, your business will just be much more scalable, much more enjoyable, and much more profitable. And lesson number 30 that neatly wraps up these tips and kind of reiterates some of the other key points that I've made throughout this video is regularly ask yourself, why am I doing this instead of having a job? Because when you position it in this way, it helps you stay sensibly selfish and be really clear about what this business needs to do for you for it to be worth it. And it helps you overcome all of this psychology that we have about feeling guilty about being paid well or having a great lifestyle or not being at the business all the time while the staff are there. You know, you've taken risk, you've built this thing, you took this thing on, so you deserve to be paid well for it. So you've got to be sensibly selfish about your business. And if you do that, it will keep you motivated, which means you'll keep your team motivated, which means you'll keep high energy in your business and keep the business growing to be what it needs to be. If you know that you need to make changes and that you need to get better at planning around your business for it to work better for you, I've done another video, which you can go and watch here, which explains for you step by step how to get out of the trap of your business owning you and you feeling like there's no way out.